Welcome to Loren Reads to You. Today we're reading The Bedtime Killer by Loren Malloy. That's me. So make sure you're following and subscribing wherever you're watching or listening to this. And if you haven't heard or seen any of chapters 1 through 30, you might want to pause this, save it, and come back to it after you do so. Up to you. But if you're ready, get comfortable, get cozy, and let's get into it. Chapter 31. Police arrived at the scene of a 1071. Neighbors called the police about hearing a gunshot. The officers who first arrived on the scene didn't expect to find the horror that they did. By the time the rest of the Bedtime Killer task force showed up to the scene, the story was already all over the TV screen and social media site. Bedtime Killer kills cop. I can't believe it. Daniel was face to face with this guy. Daniel? Reynolds asked. Yeah, you didn't know Brewster's first name was Daniel? Thorne asked, stunned. Guess I never asked, Reynolds replied with a shrug and then said, well, at least he was single. No grieving wife to tell. Shows how well you know one of your fellow officers. He was taking care of his elderly mother. Most of his check went to her well-being. It's why he lived only in that run-down studio. Everything else went to her housing and medical bills. He was trying everything to stay healthy so he'd always be able to take care of her. Now all she got is a pension instead of a son, Thorne exclaimed. We're gonna get this guy. You'll see, Lament said to Thorne, trying to calm him down. Right, sure. We keep fucking saying that. And now look, my partner is dead. So is another victim, and no arrests. No killer to put behind bars. All we got is a first name and a police sketch that could match several carny folk that pass through this town with their traveling circuses. I honestly don't believe we'll ever catch this guy. He'll stop on his own, very unlikely, move out of state, or get killed somehow other than the satisfaction of me shooting him myself. All this time, all these women we lost, and now Daniel Brewster, my fucking partner, has a fucking letter opener protruding from his fucking skull. For fuck's sake. Can someone at least shut his eyes? I can't look at him like that for another second. You know what? I'll be letting his mother in the assisted living home know that she's now all alone, Thorne said, going from raging out to eerily calm, and walked off to his car. A few days later, Lament came charging into the department, holding up a piece of paper, beaming from ear to ear. Horace Gelder! We got him! What? How? Thorne asked. Are you sure? Reynolds questioned. That wild goose chase Brewster had us on actually worked. Tech department sent over all the old case files that matched what we were looking for. For a span over 7 years up and down the eastern coast, there were sporadic murders. Bodies without heads would be discovered in dumpsters, while other states would discover just decapitated heads. Both heads and bodies in all the cases were found in dumpsters. All were sexually violated before and or after the decapitation was never determined, since in each case the head and body were never discovered in the same state. I believe we were right about the mother being the father's first, because the first body that was found in a dumpster sexually violated with no head was determined to be a woman in her early 30s. A head was found of an early 30s woman a few weeks later in a different state. After that, the next body with the same MO was found 2 months later and was another Jane Doe. File says the victim had obvious track marks in her arms and was in her early 20s. The head was found later in another state. If you follow the bodies, it tracks for 7 years, going all the way from Florida up the East Coast and back. Which means we were right about them being nomads, Reynolds said. Absolutely. It only lasted for 6 years because the father took several known prostitutes with him over the years. Bodies were popping up with tattoos that marked them owned by certain pimps. Just like we know gangs have gang signs that must be tattooed on, very often pimps will brand with a burn or a tattoo with their own symbols so other pimps know. When New York police had discovered one of the Jane Does with a known symbol, they started pulling up rival pimps. None of them seemed to have anything to do with the dead hooker's decapitated body. They never discovered the head. The case file notes said a pimp they collared claimed there was some John bribing their ladies off the street with a song and dance about being a widowed father and needing a woman to help look after his motherless son. The pimp claimed he had discovered some of his girls were eager at first, hoping the guy would ask them, because supposedly he offered one girl all the smack she would want, and none need to do anything for it except be a mother figure to the boy. But the girl thought it too good to be true and was too afraid of her pimp, so she didn't go. The other girls thought she was stupid until a body was discovered. The pimp claimed it was happening all over major cities. Supposedly, the different women would reappear. The heads always showed up well after the bodies ever did, in very, very, very bad condition. Some working girl, homeless person, or garbage man would find the rotting body in some dumpster sans her head. Not a lot, but over 6 or 7 years, it was too hard for the pimps to ignore it and not try to stop it from happening. The information must have spooked PD and been believed because there was still DNA evidence just waiting to be put through the system. No, I won't rant on the topic about the vital need for mandatory testing of all rape and DNA kits like Daniel would have. What I will say is we got the best forensics team to do a comparison test of our bedtime killer and that John Doe's sample found from old cases, and it was a match. Matched as a family member, that is. The guys explained it all, but the condensed version is the markers could only be from a parent, and both samples are male. The John Doe sample matched in the system for a Dean Geldar. He did 2 different stints in jail. Dean did one for a DWI and assault and battery with a deadly weapon after he fell off that. After that, he fell off the grid. Thank God for the DMV. We ran the name through the DMV system, and there was only one man in the state of Georgia with the last name Gelder. A Horace Gelder drives a maroon pickup truck. A no turn on red caused him to get a ticket and put him into the system. He had an out-of-state license from Chicago. We got him. It's only a matter of time now. That was chapter 31 of The Bedtime Killer by Loren Malloy. If you're enjoying this book and want a copy for yourself, make sure you go over to Amazon where my 20+ books are all there waiting for you to discover. If you'd like this, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. And remember, make sure you're following and subscribing wherever you're watching or listening to me. And make sure you join me for chapter 32. It's coming up next.